So I'd like to first express our gratitude to Dobrusia, who's our new board member, and her generosity in offering. If you haven't had the opportunity to listen to the first recording from 3 weeks ago, I highly recommend it. It's going to build a foundation of knowledge, and yes, and someone's already asked if we can have questions, we can. So just to give you a little bit of background, we tend this to be monthly, alternating between the evening and a daytime slot, and I promise to get the time right next time. They'll be recorded for the benefit of all. So if you'd like to remain anonymous, you can keep your camera off and click on the participant. So if you look down by your name, you can change your name to something else. It doesn't show on the recording anyway, but if you'd like to remain anonymous, it's definitely up to you. We totally appreciate that. Questions will be accepted by the chat function. And we acknowledge that we may not complete all questions in every session, and some may be held over for the next session. We acknowledge some questions may require further research, and response would be provided at the next one, but we got it all covered last time. So like everybody's already muted, so let's first acknowledge each and every one of you, and thank you for being here, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching down the track in the recording. This opportunity for Lyme and associated disease patients has been a long-held dream for us. As we all know, we're just lacking so much knowledgeable support in this country, and we deeply thank Dobrusia for helping us bring this dream into fruition. A little summary about Dobrusia's background and a disclaimer before I start. The health education during these sessions is provided for information and educational purposes only. It does not necessarily represent endorsement by the Lyme Disease Association of Australia, nor its board. We recommend you consult with your primary medical practitioner to inform you of your health choices. So we're an incorporated association, and by law, we're not allowed to give health education. We sort of fly right on the edge of that one sometimes because we're all just patients helping each other. So a little bit about Dobrusia. Dobrusia Szramowiak is a qualified naturopath and lymph and organ drainage practitioner. She's passionate about helping people with chronic complex health issues. She began her professional career as a chemical engineer, and after 12 years working with chemicals, her health had collapsed from a toxic overload. This collapse brought up her previously dormant Lyme disease that she had contracted in Poland as a child. In addition to this, she developed sensitivity to mold, chemicals, and MCAS. Due to lack of awareness and understanding amongst the medical practitioners in Australia, she spent over 10 years researching for answers and effective ways to heal. Dobrusia deeply understands the suffering, the frustration, and the helplessness associated with this process that we all can identify with. We're so grateful now that she'd like to offer her support to others who suffer from Lyme and other complex conditions by empowering them with knowledge and hope through these sessions each month. So Dobrusia, over to you, and thank you.
Thanks so much, Sharon, for this wonderful introduction. And hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. And apologies for a few minutes delay. We're here, and that's all it matters. The aim of these monthly sessions is to empower you with knowledge and help you with healing from this very difficult and tricky condition, disease. This time around, I had lots of fun preparing a PowerPoint presentation because I thought it will be good to have something on writing for those who can't join us today for whatever reason, and it's always better to have something to refer to. So I will start from sharing my screen with you. Now, where did that thing go? PowerPoint here. Am I sharing it or not? No, not yet. So why is it not sharing? Am I sharing now? Yes.
Yes, it's just starting now. Yeah.
Okay, great. So today's subject is art of detoxification. And detoxification will be one of the very important step of healing from Lyme disease. So last week we have talked about important components or stages or things to address when healing Lyme disease. And there was a detoxification, nutritional deficiencies, balancing immune system, reducing inflammation, infection control, so the killing Lyme disease, and emotional component. So I would like to start this educational series with in some sort of order. So I thought we'll just go through each step in details in each of the sessions. So today we'll focus on detoxification. Now, I really like this picture that illustrates toxic load or detoxification or toxicity as a bucket of toxins. So when we're healthy, body really deals with daily toxins on daily basis. So the organs functioning well, and they're able to eliminate everything that bombards us and comes into our body. But the fuller we become, like the more toxin, the bigger toxin exposure, basically, body capacity to deal with them decreases. And finally, we become so full of toxins, everything it's clogged full, and it's like a full overflowing bucket. So that actually happened in my case. I was pretty healthy before I became unhealthy. I had really high exposure to different toxins. So my body was accumulating. And then one day I woke up and things were never the same, just because my body has reached capacity to detox. My all organs and detox systems were full. So really, if you can get a grasp of this process, it will help you to understand and imagine what happens if we start detoxing from a wrong order. So lots of people will jump into detox too quickly, and they will think, oh, I will take some liver detox supplements. And what happens when you do that? Liver really flushes out all the toxins, and they go into cardiovascular system, they go into tissues, but they're not eliminated. So that causes more reaction, that causes flare-up reaction, hex reaction. It increases symptoms, basically makes us feel unwell. So that's why I put my detox strategy into a step process, into a phases process, and each phase, there is a sequence to each phases, and we try to stick to that. So first phase will be elimination of toxins. So basically, we're hoping to decrease the load of the toxins on the body, so body can start really thinking of not being so bombarded with toxins and preparing itself to offloading all the toxins from the body. So reduction of exposure and elimination of exposure. That would be the phase one. Phase two, I would focus on increasing the waste elimination and drainage. So basically making sure kidneys are functioning well, all the toxins are flushed, that the bowel movement, the colon is working well, and things are basically moving. And that will be the phase before going into detoxing specific organs like kidney, liver, gallbladder, lungs, skin, and lymph. So it's a really important thing to do a detox in a specific order to prevent getting worse. It's really, for me, it took really long to understand that, because my body was so full of toxins, and whenever I will read about supplement, I would think, oh my God, it does so many good things. I will have it and I will take it and it will make me feel better, but actually the opposite would be happening. And I'm sure lots of people can resonate with that thing, and just you would make yourself worse because body hasn't been prepared to deal with the excess of toxins that would be released from the cells. Most of the toxins that we store sit inside the cells. They are stored in fat tissues, they are stored inside the mitochondria, they are intracellular toxins. So if we jump ahead and try to pull those toxins outside the cells, they will end up in cardiovascular system. They will end up circulating around the body, causing inflammation, making us inflamed. And then our response could be, what is not working? Why am I getting better? Why am I getting worse? And you will ditch that process, but that's not entirely correct. You just have to remember to prepare body for detoxification process. And if someone is healthy, it's jumping ahead and taking all those liver cleansing supplements and doing really rigorous detoxification. It's not really an issue because body can handle that load, but not for someone who has been affected with chronic illness for such a long time. So today I'd like to focus on phase 1, which is reduction. And the main exposures of toxins are really our environment, food, and emotions. So I will be talking about each of the components. Last month, I have talked about exposure of the toxins at home, but I think it's really worth repeating and having that written down. So I think the biggest problem for people affected by Lyme is mold exposure. And why is it so? Both Lyme bacteria and mold, they share really similar inflammatory mechanism. So if someone has a Lyme, they would most likely start reacting to mold. So mold in the environment, it's adding fuel to the fire, to the inflammation. That's why it's so important to address it and reduce it, eliminate it. Not everyone will react to mold. Some people will be extremely sensitive, and that's connected to genetic variation. Some people, about 25% people, are not able to detox mold toxins from the body, and other people also affected through inflammation and accumulation of toxins. So mold reduction, it is a huge subject, and I won't go into details this time around, but it's worth checking your house for mold because it might be preventing your ways of healing. Now, other things to reduce are all the cleaning products. So walk around and do audit. See what is your dishwasher, what is your dishwashing liquid, the shampoos you're using, and any other chemicals at home. They are off-gassing. They're not off-gassing, but whenever we use them, we expose ourselves to harmful chemicals, which is not really helpful for healing from Lyme. VOC elimination. VOCs are all those off-gassing, smelly things. When we buy a new thing, it has a specific smell. If you buy something from Kmart, for example, the smell is guaranteed for many months. So the poorer and the cheaper quality of the product, those products usually have more nasty chemicals. So it's best to buy, I would say, secondhand products or products that have natural ingredients or natural materials, so they won't produce all this nasty VOC or off-gassing, which could give so many neurological symptoms, headaches, nausea, and add to a toxicity. Now, with plastic reduction, I refer here to all the kitchen appliances. So basically water bottles and plastic containers, things that we heat foods in. Wi-Fi exposure, it's another big one. There are some interesting studies showing that when the Wi-Fi is on, all the pathogens inside the body, they're getting more aggravated, they're angry, they basically are more virulent and produce more toxins, and they cause more inflammation for us. So again, simple things like reduction, switching off Wi-Fi when it's not used, Ethernet, Ether cable, so plugging laptop to the cable, to internet cable, or just switching Wi-Fi when we're sleeping, that's counts towards something. If you do have bigger problem with Wi-Fi, so for example, if you find yourself reacting when holding phone, having some vibrations and headaches, I would highly recommend getting in touch with building biologists, and they are trained people that help you in very specific detailed way with reducing Wi-Fi exposure and all the different preventative techniques. Now, lots of people spend their time at work and car, and it's worth also checking if there's any exposure in those places, something that not everyone will think of, but it's often also a place of contamination. Now, to counteract the environment, nasty, harmful impact of environment, I like to do deep breathing, not at home that is contaminated. Obviously, you don't want to be breathing toxins and reintroduce toxins to the body, especially mold. Go on nature, ground, bare feet, and deep breathe and show appreciation. It's a really wonderful practice. So that's on environment. Now let's go to food. And I know talking about food before Christmas, it's not generally the best idea because people will go off and indulge, but hopefully some suggestion you would find helpful here. So my general recommendation is reducing inflammatory foods. So these are gluten, dairy, soy, and sugar. They generally cause inflammation for most of the people. Now, buying organic, so pesticides free, buying whole foods, gram marrow. Now, what's gram marrow? So basically, someone said that once. I really liked how it sounded. If your grandma wouldn't recognize something as a food, then just don't buy it. My grandma, who just died, she was 99 years old. I really hope I have her genes and I will live that old and healthy as she did. She was just incredible. But she definitely didn't really use any of those packaged ingredients. She just didn't know what it was, and her diet was eggs and meats and grains and vegetables. So that's the grandma rule for you. High protein, so proteins help us to heal inflammation and repair all the damage that occurs due to chronic illness. It's best to have 60 to 70% plant-based proteins and less animal, and then more white meat rather than red meat, which contributes to inflammation in the body. Plant fats are really important. Now here's a dilution rhyme for you to remember. So the solution for pollution is dilution. And what that basically says is our toxins accumulate in the fats, in body fats. Now to flush those toxins from the body, we bring more good fats and replenish our contaminated fats with good fats. It is more complex than that, but it's just a general illustration of how this whole process works. So plant fats, I love all the unsaturated plant oils. Extra virgin means it has been really produced in cold temperature, so those very delicate fats are not damaged. Make sure you don't heat your plant oils because they oxidize and they lose their properties. Now, also medium chain fatty acids, especially from coconut, they are amazing fats to improve function of mitochondria and therefore really help the healing process. And lastly, fiber and soluble fiber. It's amazing binder, so it helps to bind all of the toxins and help to eliminate, and insoluble fiber mainly feeds our microbiome. And of course, there will be a special diet. Some people will have a problem with SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. They will have to be careful with histamine and perhaps do some short-term FODMAP diet. Oxalates could be an issue. Amines could be an issue. Candida overgrowth, it's often seen in people with Lyme disease because people are either on antibiotics or antimicrobials, or the immune system is just so down, Candida gets to overgrow quickly. So keeping all the sugar, even fruit, down, it's really important here. Now, if you do have a special dietary requirement, it's best to work with practitioner or dietitian to help you, guide you with this very specific and sometimes tricky processes of elimination and avoidance. Here's another colorful chart. So I like to eat rainbow diet, and each different food family has different properties. It has antioxidants and all the healing, good, happy chemicals. What's important is to eat in the season. So there's so much variety in supermarket. And some of the foods are just imported from overseas. And when food is imported, it's often radiated and it loses, radiated with chemicals and God knows what, and just loses its properties. So best to buy things in season and local and colorful. So my recommendation, whenever you can, is try to have variety of organic food, say 2 foods from each family. Now, if digestion is not so great because of inflammation and general disease process, what helps with assimilation is steam foods, soak them to make the nutrients more bioavailable. Sprout, that's amazing way of increasing nutritional values of the foods, especially seeds and grains. Ferment, not everyone can handle ferments, but if you can, trying like a tablespoon of something fermented to improve the microbiome. And don't have it cold, don't have it straight from the freezer or fridge, because body needs to use energy to increase temperature in foods. So have it in a room temperature. Now, just a quick chart to see what the proportion would be. I like to have about 50% of vegetables, really small amount of fruit, so that limits us to 1 fruit a day. And again, if you don't have that much candida issue, not everyone is prone to candida, you can stretch that fruit to 20%, 15%, by just monitoring the symptoms of candida overgrowth, which could be really pronounced. 25% of protein and 25% of fats, which is more than average paleo diet would recommend, but I think fats are really incredible for healing and for energy and for making body strong. And I like to incorporate lots of fresh herbs. They are antibacterials, they are anti-inflammatory, they have amazing amount of antioxidants. Aromatic spices, they will help us to assimilate and digest foods. Sulfur-containing foods, that's for liver detoxification. So all your onion, garlic, radishes, all the smelly foods, they could be quite incredible. And bitters, that's for general digestion. And that's it about the foods. Lastly, very briefly about emotions. It's not my area of expertise dealing with emotions. However, emotional component in healing Lyme disease, it's huge. So there will be lots of trauma, grief, and sadness on those days where not such a good days. And it's just very important to be able to handle those emotions and replace them with something else, because bad days are only short and they pass like waves, and emotions are also very short living and they pass as waves, like a clouds on the sky. But if we hold on to them, it could be really, it just could feel really awful. So what I would do, what I was doing when I had lots of my bad days, I would have like a cheat sheet where I listed all those things that I like to do that brought a joy for me: dancing, watching silly movies, watching funny cats, or just going up shopping, or something that bring that quick joy and distraction from emotions we would experience during flare-up. It's also very important to cut off all the toxic emotions and put the boundaries in place and focus. That will basically help focusing, bring attention to healing process. So eliminating bad emotions, eliminating toxic foods, eliminating unhealthy foods, and eliminating toxins from environment. And that consists phase 1 of exposure, reduction of exposure, for a preparation of waste elimination and drainage, which I will be talking in our next session. Cool. So I will stop sharing screen, hopefully. Stop share. Okay, I'm back.
So we do have one early question. So I'll just read it to you. What binders would you use for petroleum, MTBE, and ETBE? Also, is polymer clay made from plasticizers, and is it a harmful art material to use? There's 4 questions here. So if you want to start, I'll just do one at a time then. So the first one was, what binders you use for petroleum, MTBE, and ETBE?
So those nasty chemicals, they would be stored in our fat cells. There are some really good detoxification agents that specifically deal with toxins stored in fat. And my favorite is alpha lipolic acid, and glutathione possibly. Improving, and when I say possibly, it's with glutathione we have to be really careful, because it can exacerbate cause healing reactions. But I would focus on alpha lipolic acid. I'm just trying to think what else could be reacting with those chemicals. So moving them out from cells through things like sauna, basically sweating them out, and then binding that to possibly pectins. That's what would bind well with that. I'm just trying to remember all the chemical names of in my head. That's what comes to my mind. It's will be alpha lipolic acid, curcuma as well. That will bind to that or reduce the inflammation around it. But here will be the primary focus with alpha lipolic acid. and glutathione
Awesome.
possibly, or maybe NAC.
And you started to talk about a risk of glutathione. There was something, a
Yeah,
hesitation.
yeah. So glutathione, for someone who, glutathione can cause adverse reaction for people who have lots of high accumulation of toxins and also lots of mold in their body. So glutathione has very strong affinity to bind heavy metals and some toxins, and it will drag it into cardiovascular system and gut, and often in such a high rate that it can cause the flare-up of reactions. So really, really slowly, I would prefer to use NAC, which is precursor of glutathione, and allow body to manufacture glutathione in its own rate rather than doing glutathione. However, for some people, glutathione, even intravenous glutathione, it's a game changer. So just have to have this in mind. Start very, very slowly and gently.
Awesome. And the next question, polymer clay made from plasticizers. Is polymer clay made from plasticizers a harmful art material to use?
It's very hard for me to answer this question. I would have to look at the material data sheets, chemical toxicity of this product, and I don't know from top of my head.
Okay, that's understandable. Do you recommend people do colon hydrotherapy, not meaning enemas? And if so, what frequency?
Yeah, I've recently heard that colon hydrotherapy is one of the best and quickest way to deal with flare-up reactions with toxins, which kind of makes sense because all the toxins are often released to either cardiovascular system and then go through liver and go to colon, and that's where they have to be bound and captured and removed outside. So for people who do have toxic colon, for whom the elimination process is not going so smoothly, or if there is inflammation in digestive system, that could be a really good way to quickly eliminate the toxins from the body.
Awesome. And have you ever heard of the detoxification process bringing on a seizure? Like this person had a seizure when she detoxes.
I never dealt with such a I never dealt with things like that in my clinic, so I haven't had personal experience. I can imagine this could happen. Let me just clarify. Are we talking about someone who is detoxing, experiencing seizures?
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine that could happen because again, when we detoxing, we're bringing into surface all the chemicals. We're dragging the chemicals from inside the cells, so and they will go into cardiovascular system. So body is, if the elimination rate of those toxins or chemicals, it's not efficient, they there and they damaging, they're ready to damage our organs, and including nervous system, hence maybe the seizures.
Do you have a solution for that? So that would be binders, would it? Or slower?
Oh, definitely slower, definitely slower. I wouldn't be experimenting with detoxing if reaction like this happened.
Okay. And we have one more question. So if anybody has questions, yeah, there's somebody else that gets seizures when she's in a herx or doing small detoxing, even if she takes too much binders. So that's two people in one webinar that get seizures with the detox process. That's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, so maybe let's talk about these herx reactions for a sec and see a few methods that can decrease herx reactions. So with herx reaction, what's important to understand is to take a step back and well, firstly, when we introducing new supplement or new protocol, it's best to do one component at the time, one ingredient. I'm not really big fan of all the mixes like Byron White formula. I'm not saying they're bad, but what I like to do is one herb at the time for sensitive people. For people who can handle and don't have much Herx reaction, that's fine. But for sensitive people, one ingredient at the time, one supplement, one herb at the time, and just watch how body is reacting, because more it's not better for healing. So first step is understanding the process. What has made me worse? Okay, this and this thing, I've introduced glutathione, it has made me worse. Pause the glutathione, pause whatever you're taking, wait until you return to your normal self and start from very, very small dose, usually 1/4, 1/3. When you do experience Herx reaction, just remember it will all settle within 2 or 3 days. It is inflammatory body reaction that will pass. There are a few things we could do when things like that happen. So firstly, reducing inflammation. Things like curcuma or quercetin in high doses, they're brilliant for reducing cytokines and inflammation. Increasing antioxidants. There would be lots of oxidative stress happening during this Herx reaction. So colorful foods or resveratrol or vitamin E, vitamin C, green tea, they are wonderful antioxidants that will help to mop Herx reaction or oxidation from Herx. Another wonderful way to help the body settle is very thick Epsom, very thick. So I would put 1 kilogram of Epsom salt into a bath and maybe 2 tablespoons of bicarb. And this way that helps, that solution helps to draw all the toxins from skin, and we offloading the toxic bucket, decreasing inflammation. So far it's amazing for upregulating detox pathways. Sulfur that comes from Epsom salt salt, so it's magnesium and sulfur together. And sulfur helps to handle, helps to deal with toxins, and magnesium is really nice and relaxing. Drinking lots of water with lemon, especially. Lemon has a bit of buffering capacity, bit of citric acid, which is gentle binder. That can also help. I'm just seeing if there is anything else, and maybe incorporating gentle binder like a chia seeds, soaked chia seeds, or psyllium husk, just to help the colon to eliminate. Just checking my mast cell stabilizers. They could be also really helpful, because mast cells will get activated when there is toxic load. So natural mast cell stabilizer, quercetin, nettles in a high dose, or over-the-counter histamines. For neurological seizures, it's really difficult for me to comment because I haven't dealt with that myself. But I'm imagining something protective. All those strategies that I've listed here would be helpful. And first of all, it's to just really doing one thing at a time and watching next few days. Is there a reaction? How is my body responding? Because for people with chronic Lyme or chronic inflammatory condition, there would be usually some sort of reaction.
Awesome. And is there any way to help people who, for financial reasons, they can't get out of a toxic environment, both emotional and physical, and still move towards healing?
So physical, yeah, definitely. It's a really good question. So physical environment, that could be reduced by bringing a filters, especially for your sleeping bedroom, place where you spend 8 hours a day. Good quality filter, which is about $500, unfortunately, but it is an amazing investment that can reduce mold toxins, VOC toxins, and all the airborne toxins by even 99%. So if you can have that 8 hours rest in your bedroom with the help of filter, that's a really big score towards reducing pollution. Getting outside and having that big dose of fresh air, very helpful. Movement. So especially in terms of dealing with mold, mold wants to eat and decompose our body. So if we're not moving, it will start its decomposing processes. So movement in any sorts on the fresh air, that's really helpful. And there are certain essential oils, frankincense, thyme, clove, they are reducing amount of mycotoxins in the air. So when we burn them, or actually not burn them, but gently steam them, so they are, so if we burn them, they obviously will lose some of the components or properties, but if we gently steam them, they will suppress the mycotoxins release from mold, and that could be really helpful. In terms of emotional, look, it's just so hard for me to comment on this area. It's probably needs a good talk with a person. Sorry, I can't comment much on emotional component. Yeah, it's a very individual circumstance.
Okay, awesome. And the graphene in disposable masks and the isopropyl alcohol for sterilizing, for either of them, are they bad? And is there a need to eliminate those toxins?
Sorry, your voice muffled at the beginning of the question. Would you just mind repeating?
My kids could be cheating and not being back online. There's graphene in disposable masks. I'll just turn my camera. This might be better. Is that a little better?
Yes, a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's graphene in disposable masks and isopropyl alcohol for sterilizing. Are they bad, and is there a need to eliminate? So, for COVID, we've been stuck in masks and they've got all the sanitizers everywhere. I know I refuse to do both myself, but, I know they've scared the heck out of everybody. What's your comment on sort of a backup or a recovery from having to use those items?
So recovery from those items, look, body is able to detox pretty much anything. And again, isopropyl, it's fat soluble organic toxins. So depending of your exposure, the detox will go the same way as those other organic based fat soluble toxins. So through lipolic acid, through your NAC, quercetin, St. Thistle, and things like that. So yes, body definitely is able to recover and eliminate excess of toxins. Avoidance, you can replace those products with something like colloidal silver, or some essential oils, which just have incredible capacity to detox, not detox, but kill the pathogens. Sorry, have I covered all questions?
Yeah, I think you did to me.
Right. Yeah. Someone has made a great suggestion. Thank you, Maggie, for that. Try tapping solution for emotional support. It actually works. I've tried that myself a few times because I'm a scientist and I sometimes don't believe in a few things, or actually I do believe nowadays, I do believe in so many things. Sometimes I'm skeptical. So I was skeptical for tapping for so many so many years, but I did try it and it works. So, and there are just so many people swearing by it. There are lots of YouTube videos
Yeah.
and trainings that help, like, just really illustrate. It's a simple process. Thanks so much for this comment, Maggie. I do appreciate it.
Excellent. And then we got a question from Peter, who runs Conquering Chronic Illness, a support group for people with long-term illness. And he's said that he recently saw a gastroenterologist and he warned him off taking charcoal as binders, said it's a trend around people seeing naturopaths and nutritionists, but it's not good for the gut. Are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting statement, and I wonder why he would say such a thing. The problems with charcoal, if you're taking it long term and taking it together with food and other nutrients, obviously charcoal has strong affinity to bind all these divalent metals. So calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc, what else? Copper, sorry, just one valent. So all those essential nutrients, they could be bound by charcoal. So there is a risk of nutritional deficiencies. And it's really good to take any strong binders away from food, especially if we have to take it for a prolonged time to eliminate toxins or a high amount of toxins stored in the body. Other than that, it could be drying and constipating. So that's something definitely to watch. And if that happens, either helping your bowel to move with soluble fibers or some bile laxatives, or things that help to help with bile flow, because bile, it's laxative. Laxatives as such, not so much, because they're irritating for colon, or changing binder or decreasing amount. But really, other than that, I would be interested to know, I'll be interested to know what the gastroenterologist had in mind.
Awesome. And there's another related question about charcoal. This person gets severe distension, bloating, dehydration, no matter how much water she drinks, and severe constipation. It lasts for days. It's painful, uncomfortable.
Yeah, in that case is so is it no matter what amount, or tiniest amount, right? Look, it could be indicative of few things. The toxic load, it's really high. Colon health, it's not, it's affected. So possibly there is some inflammation or already some sort of unhealthy colon state at the start with. Charcoal in this case, it's just not indicative binder. So I would start with food as medicine, very gentle binders. Now let me open my sheet here. Plant, where did I put it? So, here. So food as medicine, so binders, gentle binders for you. Something I would suggest is flax seed, chia seed, rice bran, oat bran, psyllium husk. Or if you have problem with SIBO, which is small intestinal overgrowth, lots of bloating, upper abdominal bloating, things like grounded sunflower or pepitas. Maybe just start with two things like flax seed and chia. Soak them really thoroughly. They will create like jelly-like substance, and have them as a binder. They also very efficient in removing toxins from the body. It just sounds like at this stage, charcoal might not be best solution for you.
Awesome. And I think that's the extent of questions. If anybody had any more. So here's. Okay, thanks, Peter. So Peter's just saying, for those of you who can't see the chat, if you're listening down the road, that You know, he didn't have much time with the gastroenterologist, and maybe it is the constipation issue and the nutrients issue that he was speaking about. He might try and find out though. And there's, for other people, there's people in the chat saying that, you know, when they take charcoal, their bowel works better. So, you know, to have the awareness that what's recommended for one, you know, definitely is not right for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will have times where I absolutely can't take binders, and that's where my microbiome, it's not so strong. So microbiome, it's able to lubricate and just help move everything, good microbiome, help move everything, everything smoothly. And also when there's inflammation in the gut, things become sticky and difficult to pass. So there is like a baseline of unhealthy environment. So bringing something it's very drying and binding, it just tips things over and causes bloating and constipation. That's why I think trying things like chia seeds and flaxseed would be a really nice, gentle way to start your microbiome and also help to bind and move things through.
Mago 7 is my favorite friend
Which
for my
one?
bowel.
Which one?
Mago 7, it's ozonated magnesium.
Oh yeah,
I get it from overseas, but it's been a game changer for me. There's a lot of gratitude here, Dobrusia, and there's also a question: if you don't have a bath, would foot baths suffice?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. If you don't have a bath, I have my bath outside, but I'm in countryside, so only cows are watching me, which is not a big issue. They love to stare. Oh my God, they're such a curious animals, those cows. But you can try to have bath outside. You can actually get yourself a biggest possible bucket from Bunnings, those like $12 buckets, washing buckets. And I don't know how big you are, but you can just squeeze yourself into the bucket and put it under a shower and just sit there for 15 minutes. It's already going to have a beneficial effect. Or yes, definitely Epsom salt food baths, put few essential oils into this bath. You can mix some bentonite clay. Food bathing is a really old, ancient, effective method for detoxing and healing, and it feels good.
Does. Well, I think that we've come to the completion of our questions for today. So, Dobrusia, there's a lot of gratitude for you here and from us as well. And these videos and these recordings will be the gift that keeps on giving. So, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Such a pleasure to share my knowledge with everyone, and hopefully people will find it helpful in the journey of healing Lyme disease. Awesome.
So thank you everybody for participating today, and for those that are down the track recording, we wish you the very best in your healing journey, and thank you from everybody from the LDAA. Thanks you guys.
Thanks.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.